What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, the Puerto Rican Cementas, and I'm back with another episode. And today I wanted to cover Kanye West's comments in regards to loving Trump and feeling that the Maga hat, the Make America Great Again hat, gives him superpowers. Well, I threw on the hat earlier, a hat that was given to me during Donald Trump's campaign, and I didn't feel any superpowers stirring up. So I wanted to give you guys some good researchable information in regards to what it is that Kanye West really meant by his comment saying that the MAGA hat gave him superpowers. Now, my theory is this. My theory is that Kanye West is talking about MAGA and the movement, Make America Great Again, giving him superpowers in an economical way, considering that Kanye West has completely monetized all for the gullibility of the right and all for the gullibility of the president himself, Donald Trump. Let's look at some historical, researchable facts, and let's disseminate this information so that you can understand where I draw my conclusion from. Now, if we remember correctly, on February of 2016, Vanity Affairs claimed that Kanye West owed had a $53 million debt. And it also came out in 2016 that Kanye West had asked Jay-Z for a $20 million loan, something that was also publicly announced by Jay-Z himself and Beyonce when Kanye West started flipping the script on them. Now, let me explain to you what happened. On November of 2016, Donald Trump won the election. On December of 2016, Kanye West seen an opportunity to once again make himself relevant. So what did Kanye West do? Kanye West ended up going to Trump Towers and meeting Donald Trump in the lobby. If everybody remembers, Donald Trump and Kanye West shook hands and gave the media a weird look. They were quiet. Kanye West was posing. Pictures was being taken. Immediately the next day on the news, because I remember reading it, it came out that Kanye West and Donald Trump ended up being the #1 circulated headline in the entire world. You see where I'm going with this? A man who was only a day before irrelevant in the eyes of the entertainment industry, overnight became the talk of the world. Now, check this out. So that was on December. By January, Jay-Z and Beyonce is claiming that Kanye West had a mental breakdown. Kanye West places himself in a mental therapy inpatient program. Now check out, he stays there for almost a year. Then, immediately when he checks himself out of this mental institute, he drops 2 albums. And on the same day that he drops those 2 albums, he goes on Twitter and he says, "I like Donald Trump." Both of his albums explode. His clothesline explodes. Now, we're talking about a man who was in a $53 million debt in 2016, on February of 2016, asked Jay-Z for a $20 million loan, and only after he proclaimed to support Donald Trump, the entire right, because no African Americans that I know are supporting Kanye West. No African Americans that you know are supporting Kanye West. So you got to ask yourself, where is the money coming from? Well, the money is coming from the same audience who has encouraged other African American sellouts to monetize off of selling out to the establishment, to the agenda. And I'm going to explain to you why this is a redundancy. Because this is not the first time that an entertainer chooses to monetize off of the right. What Kanye West did has already been done by Joy Villa. Take into consideration that in 2016, Joy Villa voted for Bernie Sanders. And because in 2017, Joy Villa ended up wearing a dress that on the side said, "Make America Great Again." It was a navy blue and white dress designed by Andres Soriano. Joy Villa ended up overnight an album that Joy Villa dropped in 2013, 2014, had sold out overnight on both iTunes. It became the number one downloadable on iTunes and the number one downloadable on Amazon. Only because she wore a Make America Great Again dress. So you see what I'm saying? I just tracked exactly what Kanye West means when he said that the MAGA hat gives him superpowers. You know why it gives him superpowers? Because it gives him superpowers over the right. It gives them superpower over the gullible people in the Republican Party, over the gullible people in the Conservative Party, because I don't believe in coincidences. And I especially do not believe in the coincidence that Kanye West is going to be in a $53 million debt in 2016. By November of 2016, Donald Trump wins. By December of 2016, Kanye West decides that he's going to stir controversy in order to bring himself back into relevance. And then after he meets Donald Trump in the lobby, the next day, it comes up that Donald Trump and Kanye West is the number one researched on Google, is the number one headline around the world. He puts himself in a mental therapy. He comes out the same day that he drops 2 albums. He goes to Twitter and he says, "I like Donald Trump." And both of his albums go platinum. And in less than a year, from 2016 to 2017, he manages to become a billionaire, a man that was in a $53 million debt. And you guys can't follow that. And you can't follow the fact that Joy Villa did the same thing. And you can't follow the fact that Candace Owens did exactly the same thing. A woman that campaigned against Donald Trump all the way until February of 2017. And then after February of 2017, she shut down the site that she had campaigning against Donald Trump, because one of her experiments, one of her projects known as Social Autopsy, was shut down because she was doxing and cataloging the thought crimes of little kids that were gamers. So because they were gamers and she was allowing people to go to her site, Social Autopsy, to catalog and put their personal information, where they're located, their school, their place of employment, social justice warriors in the left ended up contacting the Kickstarter funding site. And because it violated the terms of use, they shut down her campaign. What she ended up doing, she ended up going to Facebook, claiming that social justice warriors and the Democrats are racist. Now here's the problem. That historically, Candace Owens already has a history of screaming racism. If we look at the fact, and you can research this yourself, that in 2004, Candace Owens ended up suing Stanford, Connecticut Board of Education because she believed that it was their responsibility to protect her from verbal racism, which according to her, 3 or 4 young white males had verbally assaulted her and said some racist, derogatory terms. And she sued the Stanford, Connecticut Board of Education in 2004, screaming racism. She was let out of the school by the NAACP, whom, by the way, there's an article also on him claiming that he's surprised that she's overnight a conservative because he knows Candace Owens. So this is what I'm saying. So what Kanye West is talking about the MAGA hat giving him superpowers, the MAGA hat hasn't only given Kanye West superpowers. The MAGA hat gave Joy Villa, who voted for Bernie Sanders, superpowers. When I brought it up, I lost thousands of followers. Mind you that on Facebook, I had millions and millions of views on my videos. Once I start talking about Joy Villa, everybody turned their back on me because it's more beneficial to support an African-American even if they're not authentic with their alignment, than it is a Hispanic American, because presently the right is working on promoting Hispanophobia by promoting the idea that Hispanics are coming into this country to promote cultural Marxism and restructure America's language and change America's culture. These are white nationalists that are actually in charge of the right-wing news and information outlets. Now, you guys don't have to believe me. All you guys have to do is do the research yourself. Go into any one of these right-wing news and information outlets, and you're going to notice an anomaly. And the anomaly is this. The anomaly is that when you look at each and every one of these news and information outlets, you notice that even though they've invited or they've actually assigned an African American to play a part in each one of these news and information outlets, even though African Americans, less than 7% voted for Donald Trump and less than 7% traditionally have voted for the right, and more than 38% of Hispanic Americans vote for the right, they still chose to exclusively exclude and omit Hispanic Americans from each and every one of these news and information outlets. So you gotta ask yourself why. And it is because if they bring us into one of these news or information outlets and we become popularized, and they try to spread Hispanophobia by spreading fear-mongering through the idea that Hispanics are here to restructure the American language, which, by the way, historically, there is no such thing as an official American language. There is a language that has been adopted on a state-by-state basis, which led to the original 13 English colonies. But if we look at historically in America, even up to 1790 to like 1890, Russian was the German was the language that was spoken in almost 12% of U.S. schools. So there is no such thing as an official American language. So by spreading this false narrative and then attaching it exclusively to Hispanics or people of Hispanic descent, then through that they promote Hispanophobia. And through Hispanophobia, some people will be fearful and other people will be hateful. So through Hispanophobia, you can then promote ethno-racism. Because even though we can see a gradual decline in the amount of racist activity going on, we can actually see an inclination and actually a mainstream acceptability of Hispanophobia and ethno-racism. Just look at the fact that Mexicans were directly correlated with being racist just because of certain truths that were restructured in order to benefit the agenda of those that are pushing their narratives in all of these right-wing news and information outlets. So you see, that this is what I'm called the semanticists. I started off as the conservatives, as the Puerto Rican conservative, but you can still Google me and you'll find me on a lot of websites that probably still have my stories. I'm a person that I've been completely involved in politics. I chose to leave the Republican and Conservative Party because it is not what I thought it is. Because ultimately I can see past the lies, I can see past the narrative, I can see past the notion that the left is exclusively racist. When I myself have witnessed the shifting of how Hispanics were first utilized to normalize the right in 2016 when Donald Trump was first campaigning, and a group known as Latinos for Trump started mainstreaming the idea that it was okay for minorities to support Donald Trump regardless of his rhetoric against Mexicans. Then once they got used, you notice today that Latinos for Trump have become an irrelevant presence in the right. And it is because now what the right is doing is that they're utilizing African Americans to push the same narrative that white alternative right, white nationalists were pushing, but were getting their heads cracked by Antifa, but were getting their heads cracked by resistance. But if you put an African American and you assign them the way you did with Candace Owens, that in less than 6 months after she flipped the script on the left, she was assigned by Charlie Kirk, the founder of Turning Point USA, to be director of urban outreach for Turning Point USA, in less than 6 months on Facebook? Why? Why, if you go to her YouTube page and you notice that, why? You notice that Candace Owens asks racist white people to please shed your white guilt. She encourages racist people to shed their white guilt. She questions the validity of rape. She says, is it rape or is it regret? That's one of her talking points. Rape versus regret. So what she does is that she smears things that if you or I were to say something like that, me as a male Hispanic, you as a white male or a black male, you can't say stuff like that. But a black female can get away with all of that narrative. So then you gotta ask yourself, how did she become successful in less than 6 months? If in none of her videos she endorsed Donald Trump, in none of her videos did she ever endorse any of the right-wing politicians, then what makes her so woke? Telling white people to shed their white guilt? Saying she don't care about the Charlottesville riots or the KKK? Questioning the validity of rape, asking people, is it rape or is it regret? Is this what makes her informed to the right? These are the same concepts and the same ideas that are being promoted in the right as normal. And because of that, I left the right, I left the Republican Party, I left the Conservative Party. Not because I believe in the exclusive righteousness of one party, but because I hate propaganda. And when I see that the right is pointing the finger exclusively on the left and saying that the left is exclusively racist, while I myself have witnessed ethno-racism in the right, that's what led me to walk away from the right and walk into the center. Because honestly speaking, I don't believe that a person can transition from being a conservative to being a liberal or Democrat, or a person can transition from being a Democrat or liberal into being a conservative. I don't believe that, because I believe that if you believe in abortion, if you believe in same-sex, if you believe in concepts that do not align with traditional ideas that are associated with the concepts that evolve around conservatism, then you can't be a conservative, because you always organically, naturally align with certain freedoms, with certain choices. So if I'm a preserver of life and I'm pro-choice, I can't say, okay, because I'm mad at the right, I'm going to now become a liberal or Democrat. I don't believe in that. Because then that's not being awake, that's being a propagandist. That's saying that I'm going to utilize selective people, selective city elements that are in the right, and I'm going to utilize them to put everybody else in the right in one box. How would that make sense? I'm not putting everybody in one box. I'm not going to put everybody in one box in the right and say everybody in the right is bad because of the few bad experiences I've had, so I'm going to now transition and become a Democrat liberal. No. When I walked away from the party itself, from the Republican Party and the Conservative Party, not because I stopped believing in the ideas that I believe define conservatism, but because I believe that the contemporary Republican and Conservative Party do not align or embody what I know to be conservatism. I've been a proponent of conservatism for 10 years. And I was one of the first people to open up a Puerto Rican political group to start campaigning for Donald Trump as early as 2015. I was the first Puerto Rican to actually make a video publicly claiming that I support Donald Trump. So I have a history, man. My name is all over the website. All you got to do is check out Ramon Socio Aponte, and you're going to see my name on Google. You're going to find me on websites. You're going to see I have videos online where I'm championing. I'm fighting against the corruption in Puerto Rico's government. I'm defending Donald Trump. I did it all. So then you got to ask yourself, at what point did things begin to change? Things begin to change as soon as I realized that the people that are today making up the right are not what I know to be conservatism. They're not what I know to be republicanism. And because of that, I can walk away from the party and still be aligned ideologically with the idea of conservatism. And it is not until today's contemporary idea of conservatism dissipates back into the dark. Because I'm going to tell you what's happening. What's happening is that because Donald Trump stirred up a movement that has become mainstream and trendy, almost like hip hop, normal to be politically incorrect, and everything that we did believe in authentically. Now, seeding elements from the left are actually attracted to this, not because they want to be politically incorrect, but because they're disgusting people that organically want to behave a certain type of way all the time. So because of that, that has become part of the populist movement. What is going on now today is that the populist movement now dictates the narrative that the popular movement is going to embrace. They take this narrative and they push it forward utilizing these right-wing news and information outlets. They exclude Hispanic Americans from each and every one of these news and information outlets. And I'm not talking about Fox News, because Fox News has one dude, Juan, whatever his name is, and Geraldo Rivera, even though Geraldo Rivera never really, he hates Donald Trump and he doesn't act like a Republican to me. Fox News has two, but we're not talking about Fox News. Fox News doesn't have the power that these technocratic news and media outlets that have platforms on social media have. If you think about the millions of views that people like Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro, the Red Elephant, Newly Press. If you look at the millions of views and following that these people have, they've actually surpassed, as far as influentially, they've surpassed mainstream news and information outlets. And it is because we're now living in the age of information, the information age. And because we're in the information age, we have to understand that the virtual world, social platforms are now there's going to be a battle in the future over the platforms. This is why today Facebook, Twitter, and all these sites are working to regulate the type of information that is being circulated and distributed through their platform, because they understand the power of their platforms. If Facebook has 1.5 billion users and you go unchecked, that means that you have the power to, through information, influence 1.5 billion people. And ask yourself, how much power does it take to absolutely corrupt somebody that has been given the power to corrupt absolutely? With that being stated, everybody stay safe and stay informed. Once again, subscribe to my page if you like what you're hearing. If you don't, that's fine. I enjoy the views and I enjoy all comments, so feel free to leave any suggestions or remarks. Thank you. Stay safe and stay informed.